So anyway, I started 2 other live streams. First time was my computer was glitching out. So, but anyway, took care of that. Second time, I didn't have my sound on. So, whatever. We'll start again. All right, my name's Steve Klein. I'm reporting from Indiana, Northern Indiana Patriot. I want to start out with 2 things. The first one is I had a shout out to from Locked and Loaded 100%. Now them guys are pretty cool over there. If you haven't done so, Locked and Loaded 100%, go check their YouTube out. They're really cool and down-to-earth people. And then you have RKTNN, Randall Taylor with RKTNN, Truth News Network. Check both of those out. They're both great. And thanks to you if you're watching from Locked and Loaded 100%. I want to thank you guys for giving me a shout out there. I'm new at this. I'm nervous. All the works. So we'll see what happens here. I appreciate what you guys did there. So that was cool. Now I got a couple things I want to go over. There's a law. Well, first of all, what got me thinking about this was I was over at 100, Locked and Loaded 100%, watching them guys, and they had a short time there. They were talking a little bit about a couple, local laws they have, this and that. It got me thinking. A couple, 3-4 years ago, I'm not sure the date, but it was a little bit ago, Indiana, I guess you would say, they reinforced a law that we should have already had according to the Constitution about protecting yourself against unlawful police officers. And once you watch these 2 videos, which I'll probably get hit for, some kind of copyright or whatever, but who cares? Once you watch these videos, you'll understand kind of what I'm talking about. It's there was a big thing about, the cops were upset because the law that passed says that you can shoot cops. Well, you can't shoot cops. Okay. You can protect yourself. And basically what they're saying is, if your house gets raided, you've done nothing wrong. You don't, deal in drugs. You don't deal in this. You don't deal in that. And your house gets raided at 3 o'clock in the morning. You're asleep, and you're waking up going, "What the heck's going on here?" And you protect yourself. You start shooting at whoever's in your house, home invader. You're thinking it is. You're protected by law. Okay. But that doesn't mean, if you've done stuff that you might get raided for, this and that, because now you're not protected. So anyway, you'll see more about what I'm talking about. I got these 2 videos I want you guys to watch. Like I said, they'll probably copyright strike me for them. But, whatever. I'll try to provide some commentary on them, which I'm doing right now. So watch this first one, and then I might go right into the next one, or I might say something about this first one. We'll see how it goes. So here we go.
It is the first law of its kind. Citizens allowed to shoot police officers who trespass illegally.
Fox News senior judicial analyst Judge Andrew Napolitano is here to break down the new rule. All right, this is going to take place in Indiana.
It is.
What is it?
Well, it's a law that allows people who lawfully own weapons to use those weapons against the police when the police are behaving illegally. For example, police attempting to arrest someone without an arrest warrant, police entering property without a search warrant, police coming into the wrong property, or police actually committing a crime. Now, this was generated by a horrific case in Indiana where the police broke down the wrong door and arrested the wrong person, and he kept trying to say to me, I'm not the guy you want, it's next door. And the more he resisted, the more they pummeled him.
That sounds like the Texas law.
Texas also has a statute that if, for example, they're after Brian Kilmeade, but they arrest Steve Ducey, and he goes, I'm Ducey, I'm not Kilmeade.
Easy to confuse the two.
Easy to confuse the two. Ducey can, in Texas, Ducey can use force to resist
because
the police.
I'm not the guy you came to get.
Correct.
I'm confused. So if the cops break down your house and you know that you've done nothing wrong, you can shoot them?
Yes. In the state of Indiana, yes. Well,
what if they have a warrant? If they have a warrant.
If they have a warrant, you cannot. So, look, the burden is on you to do the right thing. If you're not sure whether or not they have the warrant, obviously you can't use the weapon. You can't use the weapon to escape from lawful confinement. You can't use the weapon to initiate a crime. You can't initiate the confrontation.
There's a lot of small print here
with the police.
Yeah.
Where did this come from?
Well, this was enacted by the legislature and signed by Governor Mitch Daniels.
But why?
Because of this case in Indiana that received tremendous publicity where the police went to the wrong house and beat up the wrong person, and he attempted to resist, and then he sued the police, and he lost the lawsuit.
Isn't there a big leap from that to being able to shoot the police?
Well, as we were talking earlier, the state of Texas has had a statute where you can shoot the police, and people generally don't do it because the police are a little bit more careful because they know the homeowner may be legally armed as they are.
That's interesting. So where do you fall on this?
I'm in favor of the statute. I think it will lessen the tension between police and law-abiding citizens, and the example is Texas.
Let's just hope more cops don't get shot.
Correct. Nobody wants anybody to get shot, but nobody wants the police to break down the wrong door or to commit crime in the name of being a police officer.
Right, and that is now the law in Indiana.
Yes, it is.
Judge,
I don't think it's coming to New Jersey.
And we were talking about Texas as well. You were there yesterday. All right, Judge, thank you very much for joining us.
Pleasure, guys.
Okay, that was interesting, wasn't it? Basically, what you guys are seeing there, this law was passed, like I said, 3-4 years ago, something like that. But what happened was you had a few cases where the cops were breaking in the wrong door. All right, now the cops are going to have to think twice, make sure they have the warrant ahead of time, because what they would do is they would break down the person's door and then show the warrant later, after they've got you in cuffs or whatever. So in order to prevent that, they kind of, what happened with Indiana statutes, they took the right to protect yourself part of it out. Well, now what they were saying is they put it back in. So now it's made the police departments nervous. Well, if they weren't breaking the law and breaking in the wrong doors and things like that, they would have no reason to be nervous. If I'm not breaking the law, then why am I nervous? That's what they always tell us. Well, it's just got turned on them. So, anyway, let's go to the next video. Yeah, that law. Or them freaking out is just ridiculous because they've done the same thing on us. You get pulled over, you get questioned by a cop. Well, why aren't you answering? What are you nervous about? What's going on? Are you guilty of something, basically? Well, no. Now it's the same thing on them. They just got to be more careful. They got to present the warrant, basically, before they go crashing in your door. They got these things called, I don't know if Indiana does it or not, but they're called no-knock raids. Well, this law is perfect for that. They don't want to be busting in a door without knocking and presenting a warrant and this and that. Not in Indiana anymore. So, anyway, let's go back to the next video. We'll watch it and we'll see what I can say about that. But this next video, first of all, it explains a lot more in detail of the law. It seems like it's back and forth. There's a real fine line with this law. So people got to be careful. They can't just willy-nilly, hey, I was protecting myself. You can't do that. So And this includes in your vehicle. You know, if you've done nothing wrong, just for an example, let's say a cop comes up to your door and doesn't say anything. He just opens the door and grabs you and throws you out on the ground, and you know you've done nothing wrong. You weren't speeding. You didn't just rob a place, nothing like that. You have a right to protect yourself. Now, that being said, you know, back to the raid type of thing. You protect yourself all you want, but you got to remember, on the other side of that door, or coming through the door, is probably 15, 16 cops. So you're going to get shot the hell up. So be careful about what you're thinking here. Anyway, next video.
Well, we turn now to a controversial new gun law in the state of Indiana. Police there up in arms over a law that allows citizens to shoot them. It's the first law of its kind in the U.S., and it allows people to pull the trigger if a cop unlawfully enters their home. Of course, police are not happy about this law, which is backed by the National Rifle Association. But with a recent slew of reports on police brutality, is this power to the people, or can this lead to a dangerous battle between public servants and civilians? To talk more about this, we're joined now by Mark Walters. He's a host of the Armed African Radio and co-author of Lessons from Armed America. Welcome to the show there. So allowing people to shoot police, giving them this power, does this empower citizens?
Hi, Liz. How are you? First, thanks for having me back. It's great to be here. That's actually not what this does. This is actually an amendment to what's known as the Castle Doctrine law that went into effect in Indiana in 2006. And I think the first thing to do is to start off probably with the Fourth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. I've got a lot of notes in front of me. This is a fairly complicated issue. But let's start with the Fourth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, which clearly states that the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized.
All right. You hear what he said there? That's in our Constitution. Okay. Well, Indiana took that out of the Indiana State Constitution. And there's, you know, you can't make a law that basically is contradicting our Constitution. So they had to put it back in after this, after having a few incidences here. So let's continue on.
This case originally came up, a gentleman by the name of Richard Barnes, who had resisted officers what he felt were illegally entering his apartment during what was called in by his wife at the time, a 911 call domestic dispute. He resisted the entry by officers into the apartment. He was charged with 3 misdemeanors, was subsequently convicted. At issue was...
See there, now this guy tried to use that as an excuse. His wife called in, 911 call, domestic dispute. So the police responded. The police had every right to be there. Okay? They were called in, blah, blah, blah. They weren't busted in the wrong door. They weren't doing the wrong thing here. The police were in the right on this situation. Okay? Now, see, if they would have went there and went to, let's say, it looks like apartments there. Let's say they went to another apartment, the wrong apartment, and tried to bust in that door, whatever. Well, that person could legally shoot the cops. All right? But this guy, there was a call made, and they were responding legally. So he didn't have a right to shoot at these cops. So that's why he got in a lot of trouble over it. All right, continue on.
During that case, his trial judge did not allow the jury to be told that he had the right under common law and Indiana law at that time to reasonably resist what he felt was an illegal or unlawful entry by the police. As a result, the judge did not allow that. The jury did not hear it. He was convicted. An appellate court overturned the conviction, and then it went to the Indiana Supreme Court, if you're following me on this. And the Indiana Supreme...
See, now that what he was saying a minute there ago, this guy thought that he was exercising his right to protect himself against, unreasonable force. But it all goes right back to there was a call. His wife called in, saying that they were fighting, whatever. So they had a right to be there. He couldn't protect himself. And like I said earlier, if the cops would have went to the neighbor and busted in their door over the same situation, well, there they don't have a warrant, they didn't have a call, they didn't have nothing. That neighbor could have shot them where they stood, and it would have been legal. Okay, this guy, he screwed up. So let's continue the video, and you'll hear more about it.
The court overturned the appellate, overturning his conviction, letting his convictions stand. And that's how we got where we are today.
Okay, and that is the precedent, but this is just one incidence of police, I guess, misconduct. And we are seeing more reports of police misconduct in the country. I think we have some statistics here. I think these are the most recent. It's back from 2010. There were almost 5,000 incidents reported. Almost $350 million was spent in court battling the issue. And, and if we go to our next shot there, most of the reported incidences are of police using excessive force. So does this serve as a justification for citizens being able to protect themselves against police?
You have the right, you have an inherent right as a human being to defend your life. What this does, if we go to this, originally came out as SB1 or SE1, number 1, which was signed by Governor Mitch Daniels. And what this exactly states is that a person is justified in using reasonable force against a public servant if the person reasonably believes the force is necessary to protect the person or a third person from what the person reasonably believes to be the imminent use of unlawful force by a public servant, prevent or terminate the public servant's unlawful entry or of attack on the person's dwelling or occupied motor vehicle, or prevent or terminate the public servant's unlawful trespass on or criminal interference with property lawfully in the person's possession. Now, what this does not allow, and it's clearly written into the law, and I want people to be very clear on this, that notwithstanding, and I'm quoting again from the law itself, subsection I, a person is not justified in using force against a public servant if the person is A, committing or is escaping after the commission of a crime, 2, the person provokes an action by the public servant with intent to cause bodily injury to the public servant, or that the person has entered into combat with the public servant, and so forth, or threatens to continue unlawful action. In other words, you cannot, during the commission of a crime, shoot a police officer. None of the laws have changed in the state of Indiana. What happened is that the Supreme Court, according to Indiana's legislature and the governor, overstepped itself by removing the common law that had stood for years that says a person has the right to lawfully resist unlawful entry into their home, which was not even a part of the original case, so they took legislative action to correct that.
And Mark,
see what he said there? It was a part of the common law to the Constitution of the United States. Indiana took it out. Now they put it back in. Now the cops got all nervous about that, thinking, okay, people can just shoot us now. Well, that's not what it was about. Okay? All right. Also, I keep forgetting to turn my mic setting off when I'm watching videos because I know it's probably echoing. And number 2 thing is, you see me looking over to the side. Well, I got a monitor up here. It shows everything you guys are seeing. So I'm watching what you guys are watching on this monitor. So that's why you see me looking to the side all the time. Anyway, shut the sound off, go back to the video, and go from there.
As with many laws, critics of this say that this can create this slippery slope and raise questions on when it's in fact legal to shoot a police officer, that it can in fact provide justification for shooting a police officer, and the line there between what is allowed, what's legal, and what's not legal can get pretty blurry.
Yeah, no question. Law enforcement officers around the country, if you're reading some of the forums and are standing up in arms. I believe that many of those law enforcement officers are misinformed as to the law. Hopefully they're not getting their information from the San Francisco Chronicle or the Cleveland Plain Dealer. But the National Rifle Association has come up with a number of countenances, if you will, to the myths that SB 1 allows homeowners to shoot and kill police officers they believe are unlawful on their property or in their houses, for example. That's patently false. It allows reasonable force to be justified when a person reasonably believes it is an unlawful entry by force. And to be reasonable, the defensive force must be proportional to the reasonably perceived threat. Now, you know, a police officer doesn't have anything to worry about if they're not illegal, if they're not doing anything illegal. What they're concerned with, and rightfully concerned with, is the perception by the public that the public can get away with something that they couldn't have gotten away with prior to, and they can't.
Nonetheless, this is stirring a lot of controversy and a lot of fears among the police over there in Indiana as to whether or not this will hinder them from being able to do their job well. And I do want to bring up a quote from a police officer. This was from the San Francisco Gate. He says, quote, "If I pull over a car and I walk up to it and the guy shoots me, he's going to say, well, he was trying to illegally enter my property. Somebody is going to get away with killing a cop because of this law." And what do you think about that fear that police feel like their lives are in jeopardy now because shooting a police can now be justified?
I don't believe that it can be justified, and I think that's an unfounded fear. I'm not a police officer, and I'm not the one approaching that vehicle, so it's very difficult for me to speak to what's in that police officer's mind. However, it's illegal to shoot a police officer who approaches your vehicle on a traffic stop. You're not going to be able to come up with that excuse. I think that's an unfounded fear. You know, if you look at the way that this law is written, it's very clear when you look at SB 1 and actually read it when justifiable force is allowed and when it's not allowed. But it does not give anybody, the individual, the right to shoot at a police officer.
But do you think this could, because, you know, police are supposed to be public servants, is this pinning the public against the police?
You know, I don't think so. I think it's a matter of how this is reported and how it's going to be perceived. You know, police understandably have every right to be concerned about the perception of the public and the way that this law is being perceived by the public as a means of how it's being reported by, quite frankly, irresponsible outlets. I read the San Francisco Chronicle reports. I've read the Cleveland reports and reports from across the country. And their quote, it's a lot of fear-mongering, quite frankly. None of them are going to the facts. If you were to head over to the NRA.ILA or NRA-ILA page, for example, you can get the facts on the myths. One of the myths is if a police officer is walking by a home and a woman screams because her husband is beating her, that the husband can shoot and kill the officer for entering the home and get away with it. That's patently false. The individual is in fact committing a crime, which is what is directly written into the law is illegal. There's been no change actually to Indiana law as it stood prior to the original case that caused all of this problem. They simply rewrote it back into the law.
All right, and I guess ultimately, if they aren't serving the public's interests, why should they be treated differently from anyone else in terms of somebody feeling like they need to protect themselves against another person if they feel like their life is in danger?
Are you referring specifically to a police officer?
Yes. I mean, in a situation like that where a police officer is breaking the law, I guess then it does make sense that there is no differentiation between a police officer and a civilian if in both cases that they are breaking the law and you feel like your life is in danger.
Well, nobody supports law enforcement more than I do on Armed American Radio. I'm an avid supporter of law enforcement across the board. But there are also cases, as I said the last time I was on your show, there are bad police officers, there are bad judges, there are bad lawyers. There's someone from every walk of life sitting in a jail cell somewhere in the United States of America today for committing a crime. Simply because someone puts on a uniform or puts on a badge does not make them an inherently good person. That person can commit a crime, and you showed statistics as well. If I'm sitting at home at 3 o'clock in the morning and my door gets kicked in, I have a right to defend my life and my family by firing my weapon to stop that. If that were to happen to be police officers on the other side of that door, am I right in doing that? If they were at the wrong home, I may be right in doing that, but I might be right in doing that posthumously as the threat of return force on me will be greater than what I acted upon. So, yeah, it's a thin line. There's no question about it. I understand law enforcement's concern, and it's really sad that we got to this point from the Indiana Supreme Court who overstepped their bounds, quite
And I do want to
frankly.
ask you one more question, Mark. We don't have that much time left, but the National Rifle Association lobbied for this law. This is the same organization that lobbied for Stand Your Ground, which is, both of them are an expansion of the Castle Doctrine, and Stand Your Ground is getting a lot of controversy right now over what happened in Florida. So keeping it in mind that this is the NRA is one of the groups behind this law, could it be about expanding gun rights?
I don't think.
All right, listen. You hear what she said there. Could it be about expanding gun rights? Look, it's in the Constitution. There's no expanding gun rights. You have a right to bear arms, period. You can't, what it is they've suppressed our gun rights, and now they think that when we start getting our gun rights back, that it's an expansion. It's not an expansion on gun rights, okay? It's gun rights we've already had, we've supposed to have had. You get legislation in the states trying to suppress our gun rights. So what she said is definitely wrong. All right, let's go back to this.
It's about expanding gun rights. Nobody supports law enforcement more than the National Rifle Association. Millions of their members, or hundreds of thousands of their members, are law enforcement agents across the nation in local, county, sheriffs, federal agents, and so forth. Are all members. A lot of them, a large majority of them, are members of the National Rifle Association. What the NRA was doing here, and looking at some of the research I've done, is simply go back to put into place into the Castle Doctrine, which apparently was gutted by the Indiana Supreme Court overstepping its bounds. They went ahead and replaced it with the language to give that authority back to the citizens to be able to defend themselves against what we know in common law for hundreds of years as an ill.
All right, I was talking about something there, and I didn't turn my sound on. So anyway, the only reason why I turned my sound off is because there's an echo from the video to, because I don't have a microphone. So anyway, what I was trying to say is this guy, basically they pulled the law out of Indiana about your constitutional right to defend yourself. Well, Indiana's just put it back in the language they put back in there, you know. So now, you know, if you are innocent, you know you've done nothing wrong, they come busting in your door, you know, it's the wrong house or something crazy like that happens, and you shoot and you kill an officer, according to this law, you have a right to do this. But like this guy was saying, and what I said earlier, is unless you got 15 guys armed in your house living with you, you're probably going to get shut the hell up. So it's better to stay alive, you know, comply, take it to court later, live to fight another day. You can take that to court, sue their asses for, you know, make a lot of money doing it. But, you know, that's what I would do. I'd like, okay, whatever, you know, take me in, blah, 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 get my lawyer, sue them. They were at the wrong house. They don't have a right to do so. All that, you know, all the gibberish. Just so you live to fight another day. Because like I said, I don't care if they're at the wrong house or not, there are going to be a lot of them with them. So, you know, you're probably going to get shot the hell up. But anyways, you know, a lot of people got nervous about this. They say it was a new law. It's really not a new law. It was the law that was supposed to have been there to begin with. They put the wording back into the law, so it makes it legal for you to defend yourself. You know, if that cop's out doing something illegal, you see a cop, you know, I don't know, dragging somebody out of a vehicle and pounding on them, this and that. First of all, you want to make sure that that other person was innocent of what they were doing before you can go and, you know, stop them from doing that. Otherwise, stay out of it. You know, if that guy was just robbed a bank or something and the cops taking him down, blah, 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 he has a right to do that. But if a cop pulls somebody over willy-nilly, drags them out of their car for no reason, you know, hey, if you want to help protect that guy, you have a right to stop the cop from doing it. It doesn't mean you need to shoot him. It's just that you can stand in. You know, cease and desist. But anyway, let me shut my sound off here, go back to the video, finish watching it, and hopefully I'll turn my sound back on when I'm trying to talk. So I'm working on getting a microphone, you know, set up for in here so I don't have to do this all the time and try to remember it.
Illegal entry, not an arrest and the right to resist the arrest because they'll be charged, but the right to resist an illegal entry.
Okay, and you know, Mark, this is the first law of its kind in the U.S. that allows for this, for citizens in some instances to be able to shoot police if they feel like they're in danger. Do you think this is going to set a precedent, and do you expect other states to pass similar laws?
Well, I would disagree with the way that question was phrased, only along the lines that we don't have a right to shoot police officers. If you shoot a police officer, you're going to do an awful lot of time if you survive. It's that simple. What this does was give the person the right to resist an unlawful entry into their home and expanded on the castle doctrine. Now, many states across America already have have under common law the right that this law put back into place that the Indiana Supreme Court removed, and many believe overstepped their bounds.
Okay, and really quickly, at the end of the day, Mark, do you think that this makes us safer?
I do, yes, I do. But I also see the perspective from law enforcement. It's a little bit too soon to see what's going to happen here. Hopefully everybody gets their wits about them and law enforcement stays safe. That's the ultimate goal, is to keep officers safe. All
right, Mark, thank you so much for coming on the show. That was Mark Walters, host of Armed American Radio and co-author of Lessons from Armed America. Well, we turn now to a controversial new gun law in the state of...
Okay, so that's a little bit about that law from 3-4 years ago, something like that. Now, this is like the third live stream I tried to do of this video. The first time I was having computer problems. Second time, I don't even remember now. But whatever. I'm still learning this stuff. Like I said, if you see me over here looking to the side like this, that's because I'm watching what you guys are watching on another monitor. And also, get back to RKTNN, Truth News Network, Randall K. Taylor, I think is his name. That guy's pretty cool to watch. I mean, when it talks about stuff going on, Truth News, basically. Really awesome to watch. So if you get a chance, go check his site out. Last night I was in chatting on Locked and Loaded 100%. Them guys are cool. I mean, they're laid back, kind of cool. They're cool to watch. They talk about interesting stuff, you know. They got like a little family-oriented thing there. You get trolls over there bothering them all the time. But if you're interested in checking them guys out, Locked and Loaded 100%, go check them out. And I guess to sum everything up, you know, that law, a lot of people hasn't heard about it, but the ones who have are confused about it. You know, so that there's just a little bit of an educational tool. Don't go out shooting cops. I mean, it's crazy. Anybody would want to shoot anybody anyways. You know, you have to have a good reason. You need to be, you know, use it to protect yourself and protect your family. You know, just, you got a lot of these crazy people going out there shooting up, you know, schools, this and that. It's retarded. So, you know, they got mental issues and things like that. You know, I consider myself pretty far right, but I'm not that crazy. You know, you got a lot of far lefts that are just way out there too. You got a lot of far rights that are way out there. I'm far right, but I got a level head on my shoulders. I hope. You know, I don't think about going out shooting innocents and things like that. That's just retarded. It's all a self-defense thing for me. I mean, like the guys going down to the border. Hey, if I could afford it, I'd be right down there with you. You know, all I do for a living is I DJ at the bars on the weekends. During the week, I don't do anything. So that's why I'm kind of doing what I'm doing here. Definitely would have went down there and, you know, helped them out down there, but the situation's just not right for me right now. I mean, if we get word that something bad's happening, I don't care what kind of job I got, how much money I got, I'll find a way down there to stop, you know, a bad invasion. You know, I'll protect the Constitution of the United States. You know, I'll protect America if needed be. Like I said, I'm nervous, so I don't do this. You know, I've just started this YouTube channel. Hopefully you guys like some of the content I'm doing. I mean, it's going to be different all the time. It's going to be about news, laws. It's going to be my outtake on a lot of different things. So later on, maybe I'll even start taking calls like Randall KT or RKTNN News Network, Randall K. Taylor. That's what he does. He takes calls. It's kind of cool, you know. So maybe later, once I'm better at this and going, we'll do some of the same. But for now, guys, that's going to be it. It's going to wrap it up. I'll see you the next time.